Well, literally, good morning and welcome to Science Hour for the month of May. This month we're going to be talking about sea turtles, and we're here with sea turtle expert Mark Nicklaus, who has been doing turtle patrol in the Escambia County for how many years, Mark?
We've been doing Pensacola Beach since 1996, but that was back with the Park Service, but now Escambia County's been doing it for the last couple of years.
Okay. Well, Mark Nicklaus is working with the Division of Marine Resources in Escambia County, and as he just mentioned, he did do turtle patrol, was the permit holder for the National Seashore, monitoring sea turtles on Pensacola Beach. It's an absolutely gorgeous morning. And Mark, tell us why you guys start this so early.
Right, so we're out here every morning through the month of May all the way through the end of August, and we're basically looking for a turtle crawl, which is the track of the turtle. So we come out early in the morning. That way the wind, like it is really windy right now, hopefully doesn't erase the evidence before we get there. So we start at first light. We can't start in the darkness because they're still nesting, so we have to wait till right about now, and it's sufficiently light right now, so we can probably get rolling here any minute.
Okay. And then on this thing, the earliest nesting, you said about mid-May, that's normal?
Right, so it's May 18th. We could very well have a nest today. I hope we do.
Okay.
Our earliest that we've ever recorded for the area, I believe, is May 6th. So they could have already begun to nest, but we're right kind of in normal prime time. So hopefully here within the next week we'll have one.
Okay, cool. What do you think we need to roll?
Yep, we can go.
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
Making a swing. One of the things we wanted to mention to everybody while we're in the program is about the turtle lighting and the ordinance here in the county. You want to discuss that, Mark?
Yeah, so, well, you actually know better about this building back here, but we were able to get those lights changed over there. That stairwell on Sabine Yacht and Racket Club used to be really, really white and bright, and we were able to get those changed to a more wildlife-friendly amber color and tone that down a bit. It used to be just so bright white, which of course disorients the hatchlings, pulls them the wrong way. But when did you? I think that's been changed for
2012 was when we started, but it was a couple of years. It was about 2013, 2014 before we got it all taken care of.
Yeah, it looks good now.
Yeah, good. And so the ordinance, what is basically the ordinance tell everybody?
So that is, it took effect, I believe, a year or two ago, and I'm not exact on that. Tim Day would know more about that, but it's basically folks out here that live on the island or businesses, if the light is viewable from down here on the beach, it can't be white any longer. So the best lights that we've gone to, including a lot of the street lights at the parking lot, is an amber LED, which points all the light down, which is where you want it on the ground, not up and out. And it's amber in color, which is way better than white light. And then they're recessed up in, which prevents the glow from going out as well. So there's been a lot of good strides made, but we have a long way to go. There's still a lot of not good lights out here. So we're working on the public and businesses, trying to convince them to go to the right kind of lights out here.
Okay, good. And you did mention we have some bird nesting areas back in here as well.
Yeah, I think there's one right behind. Audubon handles that for the county, or the state, really. And we can look at one here in a little bit when it's a little more light, but least terns and black skimmers mostly nest out here, and we're just trying to keep people out of those areas.
All right, let's roll. We are going. Okay, as we've been going along here, Mark, we haven't seen any turtle tracks yet, but we have seen holes. There's one there.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of education going on about holes.
never-ending battle. Plastic pollution. Yeah, you can probably get a good shot of this one. I mean, that's not too bad, but we do get some really deep holes that are problematic, especially for us as we drive, but also for turtles trying to navigate the beach. So yeah, we've been after people to fill in their holes when they're done. And then of course a lot of plastic toys and stuff. I don't know why people like to leave them out on the beach other than they're cheap. But yeah, it'd be nice if they'd take them home with them for sure.
Yeah. We noticed back there that Public Works had to come in and actually cover some with a front end loader.
Right. We had one on Saturday just about a mile from here that was very deep, and yeah, we got them to come in with a front end loader to fill it in.
Now, as far as the turtles coming up on these beaches, they'll go up to the dune line, of course, to lay their eggs.
Not always. It's really nice if they do that, because we do lose a lot of nests to flooding. A lot of times they'll be laid right down here, only maybe 20 feet from the Gulf, and those nests typically do not make the full incubation, which is about 2 months. We'll end up getting either a tropical storm or just a good strong blow, and a lot of those nests will end up getting flooded. But when they do make it up to the dune line up there, that's what we want to see for sure.
Now, as far as relocating nests, what's the protocol on that? When do you guys make the call to do that?
Yeah, we don't really. We used to relocate a lot more nests. The last time we actually relocated a nest was 2016, and we had to actually relocate all of the nests that year because it was a renourishment year. Okay. So they were renourishing the beach here, and the state required us to move them all. So we did, and we actually had really high success rates. Regularly, they hatch at 90% or more. But the state only wants us to move nests if they're laid below the most recent high tide line, which for this beach is usually very low. This high tide line is probably almost where the sargassum is. It's probably more than a day or two old. Last night's high tide line is probably just down here, and so we really, not many nests are laid that low, so we really are not in a position to move many nests here of late. The last about 3 years, we haven't moved any.
Okay.
We got a shorebird nesting area up here.
On the nesting thing for the turtles, we got primarily loggerheads and greens.
Right. Yeah, most of our nests are loggerheads. We do get a green nest, or 3 every other year. Last year we had 2 Kemp's Wrigley's. I think the year before we had 1, and then the year before that I think we had 2 or 3. So Escambia County does receive a few Kemp's Wrigley nests, and they lay in the daytime, so we might actually see one. I've been fortunate enough to see one on the beach. She didn't nest. She was harassed by some beachgoers, and she went back in the water. But we could see that. And Escambia County actually leads the state of Florida for Kemp's Wrigley nesting.
Oh wow, which that's cool.
Yeah, we don't lead in much as far as turtle nesting, but for Kemp's Wrigley's, I believe we still lead all the counties in Florida for the most nests.
Well, on that note, about what's an average number of nests per year here? I know there's highs and lows.
Right, yeah, so I think our best we've ever had was 35 on Pensacola Beach. Our average is right around 15. So we're not a real high density nesting area, but you gotta remember, since we only receive so few, it makes every nest even that much more important.
Yeah.
So we really want to see those hatchlings, get into the Gulf.
Now, I remember my predecessor, Andrew Miller, making a comment that because of the temperature determination of the developing egg, that we produce a lot of males.
Right.
So we explain possibly
So we have our beautiful white sand beaches, which you can see. So, and everybody knows that's walked on a North Carolina beach how hot it gets in the summer. You'll burn your feet. Whereas here you can walk barefoot pretty much in the middle of the day. So our nest incubated at a cooler temperature, which does produce more males in the clutch than females. And we actually monitor those temperatures, and we've got some temperature probes in the ground this year that the data will be looked at by USGS Meg Lamont, and just to get an update on what our incubation temperatures are and see if we're still kind of below that pivotal temperature.
All right. In the past, it's been the data's been kind of steady. We took a bunch of data back in the late 90s, which is now a long time ago. Yeah. And our incubation periods pretty much were below the pivotal temperature, which is about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees C. So we'll see what it is now. It's 2021, so we'll see if that's increased at all. Yeah. Well, I know we've been getting increasing rainfall throughout the county, and of course storms are always on everybody's mind. I'm assuming there have been some impacts on that.
From tropical storms? Yeah, last year we had like 4 main storms impact nests. Cristobal, I think a Hannah, and Sally, of course. Yeah. So yeah, we did lose quite a few nests last year from those tropical systems. We actually have 2 temperature transects in right here, and there's there's 2 uppers, which are just at the base of the dunes, and there's 2 mid-beach. And we have 3 probes, one that's about 50 centimeters, one about 40, and one about 30. And they're set to record every hour the temperature. So this is actually the site where we're recording temperatures. So there's a duplicate just to kind of be able to have a control for back and forth. But so they'll be recording temperatures all summer long out here, and then Meg Lamont will look at that data. And they're actually doing it all through Northwest Florida. Panama City Beach is another location, and I think some out on Cape San Blas.
Technology question: how are those things powered?
Just battery.
Okay, you guys have to change them out how frequently?
I don't.
Okay.
She sent.
she
sent the probes. The ones we used to use were the same company. They're made by Onset. They were much smaller. These ones are actually kind of bigger, but they're pretty easy. There's just a magnetic hookup, I think, as far as data download, and you can just convert it into an Excel file. You have all your hourly temperatures.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've noticed, the pop-up tents seem to be gone. That part of the ordinance is working, right?
Yeah, so leave no trace, yes. Sometimes. Public Works from Escambia County will actually come through at night, and if people leave their tents and chairs out on the beach, they'll actually remove them. We have had some turtles crawl up into pop-up tents. Here's a volleyball net, which is not allowed. The problem is the guide wires is where they can get entangled, and the same with a pop-up tent if they have guide wires. Beach furniture, we have seen turtles get their heads into fold-up chairs before. So that's not good. So it's just, and it looks way better too, without all that stuff up and down the beach. So for the most part it works, but I know there is still some trouble, and they do confiscate stuff every night. So I'm not sure how much they confiscated here last night, but in general it has been getting better. People have been listening.
And on that note, the ordinance covers not just Pensacola Beach, but Bermuda Key as well. All right, here's an example of what not to do.
need a
problematic for a lot of things, not just turtles.
They need a building permit for that.
All right, you were just texting your volunteers. How's that volunteer program work?
All right, so we can't do any of this without volunteers. I patrol 1 day a week on Pensacola Beach and Perdido Key, and then volunteers do the rest. So we have over 20 volunteers that help us, and there's no way we could cover all these miles of beaches every day without our volunteers. So they're a very important part of this for us. And I was just checking in to make sure that 2 patrols on Perdido Key were rolling, just to keep tabs on that.
So you got 20 or all those, you have a sub program, right? So does the 20 include subs, or?
Generally, it's people that sub or just other patrollers.
Okay.
So if someone's going on vacation, they just send an email out, and then someone else will switch with them.
Okay.
Something to that effect. But the one benefit to doing patrol is we get to see this every morning. It's kind of not a great sunrise this morning, kind of bland, but they're all pretty neat.
Yeah. If someone was interested in getting into the patrol volunteer program, how does that work?
We don't lose very many.
Yeah,
so it's not really easy to get a slot. I think we had 2 new people this year over on Perdido Key, but some of these volunteers have been doing it for over 20 years. Quite a few have been doing it, over 10 years. So it is kind of hard, but we do have some openings, and we were hoping to have more for our ambassador work, which was mostly out on the fishing pier, but the fishing pier is still closed. And we were trying to look into how many turtles are being hooked out there, which we suspect is quite a few, but people are generally cutting the line, whereas we really shouldn't be doing that. So we're trying to get a handle on that, but the pier's been closed since Sally last fall. So we don't want you to cut the line. We want you to try to get the turtle in. It'll happen. Pompano fishermen will catch them in the surf. Other people will catch them out, reef fish.
Yeah.
When they're going for snapper, they'll occasionally hook turtles. So they really need to come to the shore or the pier or the boat. On the pier, we have our number posted. It's generally my number, 850-426-1257. The turtles really need to go to rehab because it's probably not the first hook that they have on them or in them. We've seen, turtles with 2, 3, 5, 9 hooks in them. So the state really wants them to go to rehab, so we'll take them to Gulfarium. So we really need people not to cut the line, but to try to actually bring the turtle in, and you won't get in trouble. Call us and we'll try to get the turtle down the Gulfarium in Fort Walton.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe you can just keep your number on the phone, they can hit it real quick.
Right. And we did have it up on the pier, which is probably where most of this occurs, but until we get the pier back open, 850-426-1257.
Good info. I did notice, and I'll let everybody know, I did see a Portuguese narwhal back there washed up on the beach, so time for that this season too.
Yep, you never know what's going to float in. And we do see a lot of jellyfish from time to time.
Oh, right there, 2 things that came to mind. One, carnivore makes me think of diet. I know they eat more than just jellyfish. You want to address what the turtle's been feeding on?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what stage of life they're in. Younger green sea turtles will be omnivores, but as they get older, they turn to herbivores. So sea turtles are generally just eating seagrass or algae. Loggerheads will eat anything, and Kemp's Ridleys as well. Leatherbacks are the ones that really kind of focus on jellyfish, and we really don't get many leatherbacks nesting up here, but we do know leatherbacks that nest in Central America will actually migrate to the northern Gulf, and presumably it's because we all know how many jellyfish blooms we can have in the Gulf at different times of the year, from moon jellyfish to cannonball jellyfish. So I've spoken with some researchers that really feel the leatherbacks kind of key in on them jellyfish in the northern Gulf. I've seen periods in the summertime where there are just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of moon jellies as you're out there in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's kind of leatherbacks kind of key in on that.
And the next thing I saw a ghost crab, which brings up the topic of predation. I know offshore they've got their issues, but here on the beach, those crabs
are the nests, sit on the beach for almost 2 months. So almost inevitably the crabs end up finding the nest. So we do have a little bit of issues with ghost crabs, but they're native, and crabs got to eat too. I know people don't like to hear that, but we don't like when they get into nests. The big problem we've had over the years ago was red fox, and then more recently coyote. I heard the first nest that was laid down at St. George to our east, a couple of hours, was already predated completely by a coyote. And coyotes are generally considered not native to this area. They're more of a western species, so they are a problem. Raccoons can be a problem. So we generally, if there are problems, we put screens down. I think that nest down at St. George, I saw a picture of it. The patrollers did find it before it was predated. They put a screen over it. But the coyotes are pretty smart. I guess they ended up digging around that screen and got into the nest. So that is a bit of a problem. Predation.
Okay, we were just discussing that the beach patrol, the turtle patrol, covered literally every square foot of Gulfront Beach in Escambia County. Mark, you were talking about how that all started, whether it was mandated or not.
Yeah, I mean, when I started with the National Park Service in 1995, they were doing it purely for conservation purposes. They hadn't started daily patrols until about 1994. So the Pensacola Beach really didn't have patrol going back then, and it was kind of Hurricanes Aaron and Opal in 95 that kind of got the ball rolling, and the state took notice and kind of said, hey, if you're going to do all this cleanup and recovery on your beaches during turtle season, you really need to have turtle patrol going, or you're not going to be allowed to drive equipment down there on the beach. So that was kind of what got it started, and why it kind of continued was because of, they run beach rakes or beach cleaners on the beach every day. So in order to do that, they had to continue turtle patrols. So Escambia County on Pensacola Beach has been patrolling ever since about 96, either for hurricane recovery, beach renourishment, or beach cleaning. If they want to do any of those activities on the beach, they're required to have patrols done. So that's kind of when it all began, and it continues every year. So
you were saying that just about literally every mile of the beach in Northwest Florida is being controlled.
yeah, between either Federal, which would be like Eglin Air Force Base, to our east, out past Navarre, does it. Navarre Beach does it. The National Seashore, Gulf Islands National Seashore does it. State parks do it. Destin does it. So literally every mile is patrolled every day in Northwest Florida, and then all the other parts of Florida, except the Big Bend area, which really doesn't have nesting habitat. So I got to stop here to do my text to the bed.
All right, Mark, let's talk a little bit about the hatching situation. I mean, we know they come up, they nest, they're incubating for about 2 months, and then the hatching occurs. When do you normally start seeing hatching?
So hatching for us begins in usually like late July, because our first nests are laid in mid to late May. So we'll get our first nest start hatching around late July, and it continues all the way into October. The height of the laying season is the end of June, early July. So kind of the height of the hatching is about 2 months after that. But nests that are laid in the middle of summer do tend to cook off a little faster, so it'll drop down to about 50 days of incubation instead of 60. So about 50 days after the end of June, early July, is kind of the height of hatching, and that's where we get kind of really busy, because unfortunately, because of light pollution from buildings and homes inland, we get a lot of the hatchlings go the wrong way. If they happen to hatch and there's a new moon, or even up to a half a moon, almost 3/4 of a moon, they'll go the wrong way. It's really only under clear conditions with a 3/4 to full moon, where there's enough light over the Gulf of Mexico to overpower the artificial light, the man-made light, that they'll go the right way. Otherwise, they kind of head inland. It's very frustrating, very frustrating to see them just cue in on light pollution and go the wrong way.
Yeah. Now, in those situations, you said about over 50% of the nests have had those problems?
Yeah, it runs every year at about 60% of either the hatchlings or the nests, however you want to look at it, kind of end up going the wrong way. And we'll find them in people's garages, up on the road. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're run over on the roads. But they're basically going inland, which is not where they need to be. They need to get into the Gulf, and then they disappear into the vastness out there, which kind of makes them harder for predators to find, which increases their survival chances. If they're up on land, crawling around all night, getting picked off by ghost crabs, raccoons, or if they're out into the daylight, they'll basically just cook. Once the sun gets up, by 9 o'clock, it's already quite warm out, and they can basically just cook and dehydrate. So we do have people out that check the nests at night, where we monitor and spot check these nests for signs of hatching to mitigate for disorientation events.
Well, I do know the Visitor Center provides some red film for cameras to try to block out lighting. Of course, there's an ordinance here. If people come in contact with one of these disoriented hatchlings, call the same number that you gave about the fishing.
Right. Yeah, they can call me for sure. We are are seeing, cell phones are everywhere, obviously now, and people seem to be using them on the beach more at night. They're on vacation, so they're out on the beach at night, walking up and down the beach, and it is a problem. Not so much for the hatchlings, but for females that are out here looking for a place to nest. As they're looking and they see all these cell phone lights going up and down the beach, it's basically those females are not going to emerge when that's going on, so they'll go somewhere else to nest. So we do see a problem with that. And then as far as the hatchlings, it's just all the homes and everything up here and businesses with their lights. And even the glow from Pensacola pulls all the hatchlings to the north.
Those who do make it out there, what generally happens with the hatchlings that reach the Gulf? They spend a period of time, I guess, offshore.
So they're just swimming their little hearts out for the first couple days, trying to get well offshore and hopefully find some sargassum weed like we see here, which is full of food and what they're looking for. But they're just trying to get as far offshore as quick as they can for those first couple of days. And basically from what I've read in the literature is their yolk sac gives them enough energy for about 3 days of good solid swimming before they can take a break and start looking for food. So they just need to disappear into that vastness of the Gulf.
And they become sexually mature at about what age?
So the feeling is, they stay in these sargassum mats for the first couple of years until they get some size on them, and then they'll move back into near shore waters and start to associate with the bottom. And in general, I've seen different numbers, but I think it's safe to say, from what I've seen, about 15 to 20 years is when they will reach sexual maturity, and that's when the females typically return to the same geographic area to nest. So, one that was laid somewhere in Northwest Florida, if it's a female, she'll come back to, Northwest Florida to nest. Now, we did see some green sea turtles, one in particular that we satellite tagged years ago that was very specific, and she really liked an area at Fort Pickens, and all of her nests were laid within about a 2 to 3 mile area. Others we've seen from satellite tagging data that they'll move back and forth and possibly nest anywhere from Mississippi over towards Panama City. So in between nesting, they take about 2 weeks before the next clutch is ready, and they'll just generally be moving up and down the Gulf Coast, and then they will nest, like I said, about 2 weeks later. So it could be anywhere in this general area.
Offshore boat strikes is an issue?
Yeah, we just had a turtle hit by a boat just last week, and we do see a fair amount of those. Obviously they're reptiles, so they breathe air. They have to come to the surface to breathe, and then they're also coming to the surface just to take a break and hang out, warm up. So boating is a danger for them, and if you're out boating, you really got to have a looking and be heads up for turtles that are on the surface. And we do see quite a few who get hit by boats, unfortunately. That concludes our patrol for today. I'm sorry we did not have a nest. maybe we will tomorrow.
I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us some and the public about the sea turtle situation. I will go ahead and apologize to the viewers about the bumpiness of the ride, but honestly, there's a lot of holes out here. So, I mean, again, a good point. Please fill in your holes when you guys leave the beach for the day. It will help out not just the sea turtles, but a lot of wildlife and the folks who are out here riding around. Mark, I really appreciate you taking your time, bud. Thanks again.
I enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have a nest tomorrow and have a good summer.
That's it. All right. Thank you again, Mark.
You bet.